I worked myself to death in my past life, but reborn as a noble. This time, I'm the one pulling the strings, not the one being crushed.
Rosalind stands before the lecherous bandits, radiating pure, cold-blooded intensity. The thugs, not knowing who they are dealing with, try to tease her. Thinking she's just another piece of scenery, Rosalind isn't in the mood for games. She stares them down, unimpressed by their pathetic attempts at intimidation. The leader laughs, hilariously blind to the impending danger, while Rosalind calmly scans their ragged ranks, noting their sloppy posture and utter lack of discipline. She keeps her cool, though she definitely notices one particular knight in the back row who actually has a surprisingly decent physique. Honestly, what a tragic waste of such good, strong genetics on a bunch of common, brainless thugs like these. The cheap teasing stops abruptly when Rosalind decides their collective skull-to-blunt object ratio badly needs some aggressive adjustment. She swings her iron spear with lightning-fast surgical precision, instantly splitting a bandit's head like a ripe, overwatered melon. The carnage is immediate and visceral. And the rest of the gang finally realizes with pure, unadulterated horror that they've just poked a very lethal and angry bear. Chaos erupts as the survivors scramble desperately for their lives, sprinting back toward their boss's main tent like a herd of frightened, clumsy toddlers. They aren't looking for a heroic rematch anymore, they are just looking for a miracle to save their sorry hides. Rosalind tracks them down like a shadow, turning their retreat into a chaotic, screaming scramble across the dark and even forest floor. The arrogant boss struts out, screaming at Rosalind to stop, but she's only just getting warmed up for the main course. He tries to play the pathetic diplomatic card, asking why she's attacking them when they've done nothing wrong. Rosalind just points a bloodied, accusing finger at the terrified kidnapped girls, mocking his blatant, spineless attempt at playing the victim after all their crimes. Thinking he finally has a massive trump card, the leader dramatically flourishes an official, wax-sealed letter signed by Duke Oscar, expecting the Duke's noble seal to scare her off. He doesn't realize that in Rain's territory, the name Oscar isn't a get-out-of-jail-free card, it's actually just a massive, glowing, and very flammable please kick me sign for anyone with a brain. Rosalind remembers Rain's colorful instructions: keep a sharp eye out for any of Oscar's lackeys, and feel free to cause as much trouble as possible. She lets out a dark, wicked, and thoroughly satisfied grin. The leader tries to bribe her with piles of stolen gold, but she's already decided his head is worth far more to her than his dirty, blood-stained coins. Rosalind warns them to kneel or face the consequences, but the leader's ego is simply far too inflated for his own good. He calls her degrading names and insists that she's outnumbered and doomed. He fails to realize that a swarm of noisy gnats is still just a swarm of gnats, even if they have a very loud, very stupid, and very soon-to-be dead leader. Completely done with the mindless banter, Rosalind spins her spear, creating a beautiful, lethal blur of motion. The leader, foolishly thinking he actually has a fighting chance, charges forward with a pathetic, telegraph strike. It's the last mistake he ever makes. She swats his weapon aside with the effortless, casual grace of a grandmaster flicking away a common, buzzing housefly. She follows up with a brutal kick to the leader's chest, sending him crashing into the dirt like a bag of rocks. With her spear point at his neck, she promises the thugs a painful end. Just then, the thundering sound of hooves breaks the tension as Rosalind's elite troops arrive, instantly surrounding the terrified survivors. The mess is finally cleaned up, and it's time to head home. Back at the castle, Rosalind marches straight into the office to deliver the triumphant news. Rain is delighted she captured the caravan, but he's absolutely furious about the slave trade involvement as he reads the incriminating letter. The reality hits home. The real, brutal war for his city has begun. Rain stands up, his eyes cold as steel, and growls that these vultures are daring to snatch away the very labor force he is so desperately trying to cultivate. Those people are the heart of his city's future, and he will make Oscar pay every drop of gold for touching them. Rain storms into the dungeon, ice colder than a winter morning. The bandit leader, still wearing a smug, idiot grin, tries to warn him about big trouble with Duke Oscar. He mocks Rain, telling him to bow down if he wants to survive, blissfully unaware that he's just signed his own death warrant in Rain's favorite prison. Rain barely blinks, effortlessly tearing down the leader's delusion that Oscar's protection means anything within these walls. The thug spills the beans about their massive slave trade routes to the Orvis Empire. Thinking he's flexing his influence, he has no idea that every word he says is just piling up more reasons for Rain to bury him alive. The leader continues his pathetic taunting, demanding Rain beg for information about the hidden girls, Ain finally stops playing nice and leans in, whispering that the guy's life now belongs to him. He makes it crystal clear, continue being stubborn, and the only mercy he'll receive is a permanent, one-way ticket to 6 feet underground. The thug is still too dense to realize he's finished. Rain loses patience and signals Leah to handle the negotiations. She doesn't hesitate. She hurls a dagger with perfect aim, pinning the guy's shoulder to the wall. The scream is music to our ears, and he instantly caves, begging for his life. The broken leader spills the location, an abandoned hunter's cabin in the southern forest. Rain immediately orders Rosalind to assemble the cavalry for a raid. He stares into the darkness, hoping the guy isn't lying, because if this is a trap, the miserable fate he promised will look like a holiday compared to the hell Rain is ready to unleash. The squad soon arrives at the desolate cabin, surrounded by nothing but eerie, suffocating silence and shifting shadows. Rosalind eyes the perimeter carefully and confirms the place is definitely occupied. Proving the rat didn't lie for once, Rain commands a tactical ambush, ready to crush whoever is hiding inside like the absolute garbage they are. Rosalind kicks the rotting door in, and they find the cramped place crawling with frightened, caged victims. Just as the mission seems to be going smoothly, the heavy air hums with a lethal, hidden intent. The trap has clearly been sprung, and the hunters have officially become the hunted in this dark, woodsy tomb. Suddenly, a razor-sharp arrow whistles through the air, aimed directly at Rosalind's head. With reflexes faster than a viper, she slices the flying arrow in half. Shouting for the stunned cavalry to form a defensive wall around Rain, the deadly assassins emerge from the gloom, surrounding them in a claustrophobic, tightening circle. The assassin leader steps forward, putting on a fake display of diplomacy, claiming he doesn't want any unnecessary violence. Rosalind is absolutely ready to tear his throat out, but Rain holds her back. He wants to hear exactly what this walking disaster has to say before he finishes him off for good. The scumbag starts bragging about his lucrative career selling innocent slaves for Duke Oscar for years. He's so completely wrapped up in his own greed and arrogance that he doesn't even notice Rain's expression darkening into a terrifying mask of pure, unadulterated, and lethal intent. He tries to bribe Rain with a cut of the profits and even offers to throw in some delicious high-quality girls as a free bonus. The offer is so repulsive that the air feels thick with disgust. Rain shocks everyone by leaning in and coldly asking, "So, how much exactly are you willing to give me?" Everyone freezes. Did he just take the bait? The assassin offers a generous 10,000 gold coins annually for Rain's cooperation. Rain looks genuinely, almost hilariously offended, asking if he looks like a pathetic beggar to him. He then drops a casual, devastating bomb. His own sister hands him more than that every single month just for his casual pocket money. Rain then calmly names his actual price, 100,000 gold coins, every single month. The assassin leader is utterly flabbergasted, eyes widening in disbelief. He thinks this is a sick joke, as his entire yearly operation doesn't even make that kind of money. Rain just sighs with pure disappointment, signaling that the negotiation is dead before the swords are even unsheathed for battle. Panic setting in, the assassin tries to stall, blubbering about needing to report back to the Duke. He is secretly plotting to bring an entire army back to wipe Rain and his men off the map. He desperately offers 10,000 gold as a good faith deposit to save his own skin. But Rain isn't buying this cheap, bargained in discount store offer. Rain refuses the offer with a cold, piercing stare and snaps his fingers, ordering Rosalind to turn these arrogant clowns into literal human baskets. The assassins realize their puny lives are on the line and scramble toward the mountains like headless chickens. Rosalind signals the archers, and a relentless, terrifying rain of arrows descends upon them. Desperate to survive the deadly volley, the assassin leader frantically weaves a shimmering water barrier to deflect the incoming arrows. It's a flashy, expensive trick, but it only gives Rosalind the perfect opportunity to close the distance and attempt to slice him in two. He suddenly realizes he's completely outmatched and heading for a very shallow, very cold grave. Trapped and cornered, the leader realizes his entire crew is going to be wiped out unless he does something incredibly reckless. He spots Rain standing in the distance, and guarded and hits upon a desperate, idiotic plan. If he can just grab the master as a hostage, he might actually walk out of here alive. He sprints toward Rain, shouting frantically for his boys to provide cover. The troops scramble to protect their leader, but the scene is a chaotic mess of steel and screams. Just as the assassin thinks he's finally got the upper hand and lunges with his blade, the world suddenly goes blurry for him. He closes the distance rapidly, eyes locked onto Rain with murderous intent. Rosalind urges everyone to be careful and orders the troops to form a wall. But the assassin has already breached the inner circle, just as he is about to push his blade deep into Rain. The world suddenly goes blurry for him. Out of nowhere, Leah appears beside Rain, moving faster than light, and punches the assassin into the distant shadows. He crashes hard into the dirt, leaving a massive cloud of dust in his wake. He clutches his head in absolute frustration, finally realizing this maid is no ordinary servant. Dazed and coughing up blood, the leader stubbornly tries to scramble back onto his feet, refusing to accept defeat. He attempts another desperate, reckless move to take Rain down, but Leah anticipates his path and intercepts him midair with a brutal, bone-shattering kick exactly 4 seconds later. He crashes heavily back into the dirt in blinding pain, his pride and ribs completely shattered by her overwhelming strength. Lying paralyzed in the freezing mud, broken but refusing to surrender, the assassin leader glares up at Rain with pure, seething malice burning in his eyes. He patiently waits for the perfect, fleeting moment while the surrounding troops close the net to apprehend him. Spotting a tiny, fatal gap in their defensive line, he slides a hidden dagger into his palm, gripping it tightly as he prepares a desperate, final counterattack. Absolute panic immediately erupts across the battlefield. The girls scream his name in sheer terror and completely break their protective formation, rushing to his side in a frantic, in coordinated frenzy. The assassin leader gleefully smiles, realizing this chaotic opening is his perfect golden ticket to escape. Rosalind frantically barks orders at the remaining troops to surround Rain, escorting him away safely while shouting for Leah to immediately bandage his bleeding wounds. But when she turns around to check on them, her blood runs cold. The assassin leader has completely vanished into the dark woods, and Leah has mysteriously disappeared into thin air, leaving Rosalind standing alone, utterly baffled by the ghost-like escape. The arrogant assassin leader pants heavily as he frantically sprints through the rugged, shadowed mountains, desperately looking over his shoulder while hoping to reach the safety of Duke Oscar alive. He keeps running in absolute, breathless panic, totally unaware that his carefully planned escape route has already been completely compromised by a highly dangerous, unexpected player. Just as he thinks he is completely home free, he practically trips over Priscilla, who is just standing there looking absolutely fabulous and calm, as if she has been patiently waiting for him to show up all day long. The dude tries his best to stay composed, foolishly thinking this elegant, beautiful noble lady poses zero threat to his seasoned criminal life. However, the very moment Priscilla politely introduces herself with a brilliant smile, she casually mentions that the terrifying elite army he just fought actually belongs entirely to her little broth, Rain. The guy instantly turns pale and almost wets his pants, suddenly realizing he has accidentally provoked a monstrously powerful family he can never hope to defeat. Suddenly, the surrounding temperature drops down to below freezing as a very familiar, terrifying maid steps out from the darkness right behind his back. Leah glares at his face with so much raw, explosive animosity that it sends a violent, icy shiver straight down the assassin's crooked spine, freezing him in place. She coldly informs him that his survival permit has officially expired, simply because he made the fatal, catastrophic mistake of scratching her beloved master's precious arm back there. The miserable thug drops to his knees in the dirt, sobbing loudly and begging for his life. But Leah is completely done talking to this garbage. For the first time ever in front of others, she completely unleashes her terrifying, hidden magical powers, casually lifting the screaming assassin high into the dark sky with her mind, cutting off his oxygen supply entirely, before he can even process what is happening to his body. The dude literally explodes into a million tiny bits. Leah does not even let a single drop of his dirty blood touch her dress, effortlessly popping up a glowing magical barrier to keep her maid uniform looking completely pristine and spotless. After wiping him from existence, Leah rushes off to tend to Rain. Priscilla then smirks and calls out to her hidden, loyal guard. Gwen steps right out of a secret pocket dimension with a serious expression. They share a quick, playful tease about marrying Gwen off to Rain in the future. making her stoic face turn a delightful shade of bright red. Priscilla then orders a harsh warning sent to Oscar, telling him to stop being so bold just because he is currently jobless. Back safely inside the Grand Castle, the intense mood completely shifts into a cozy, slightly dramatic domestic scene. Leah is tenderly checking Rain's injured arm, her face filled with intense, exaggerated concern. Rain is busy having a very sweet, romantic moment with his overly worried maid when the peaceful atmosphere of the medical room is violently shattered into pieces. Priscilla suddenly kicks the wooden door wide open, dramatically rushing into the room to loudly yell and check on the condition of her severely injured little brother.